Greetings, everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What's up, you ducks? And I mean that possibly 100% literally. Well, maybe not literally, because literally we mean you were ducks. But I just found out this week, and I don't know if it's fake news, Chris, but apparently people in Hungary called people born in the 80s the DuckTales generation, which is screw millennials, screw generation Y, X, or whatever it is. We are the DuckTales generation. We are the youth of the nation. You know that song? That's a terrible song. By the way.
I do know that song, yes. It's been a while since I've heard that song. Yeah, who sings that one? I don't know.
Isn't that what the heck's that group that used to be around? Oh, it's gonna kill me now. But anyway, while I'm trying to think of that, if
it'll
you go
come
to
us. It'll come to
us. theathletic.com/ what's the name of the show? No, it's the name of the network. BetsTV, all capitals. Because now I'm trying to do two. I'm trying to think of things. You look it up because I'm trying to think of two things at once and it's impossible. So /BetsTV, all capitals. By the way, BETSTV, all caps for every single letter. It gets you first free month at the Athletic with their rankings and projections updated, which sounds like I might have to update them again today because things just keep happening every single day. But that's cut week on top of it. So we have that to talk about. But the injuries over the weekend. And code ALLIN, ALLIN, get you the 20% off FTN. Make sure you're following Chris Meaney, and make sure you're following us. 5 stars, thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff, so you're ready for the season. So you're ready for draft season. Unlike Chris, the people who text me in the middle of their draft over the weekend, hey, what should I do? And then I get a text an hour and a half later, I know you said I should have done this, but I couldn't stop myself, blah, blah, blah. What do you think of my team? Well, of course I think it's crap, because you didn't listen to me.
Man, I love it, man. People give you a hard time, and I'm here for it. I am here for it. Not gonna lie. No, jokes aside, be easy on Jake. Yeah, read the intro to all of his articles before you.
No, don't ask me and then ignore me. Is it POD?
It's POD. Yeah.
Yes. I knew I was gonna think of it.
Did it just come to you?
Yeah, no, and if anybody's watching, you can see I have a drink in my cup, in my hands. And I'm not drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't drink, so that's top on that. But no, I was trying to think of it. I wasn't looking it up. I wasn't cheating. Did you look it up? Is that what
Matthew DuPont? I looked it up. Also, Matthew DuPont says POD.
Oh yeah,
so
that reminds me. We need to have the chat open. This is so many things going over here. Pod. He's just celebrating our pod. That's really what it is. You know what? We're talking fantasy. We are going to take JK Dobbins. Unfortunately, pour one out for JK Dobbins. We are going to talk that and all these other injuries. But real quick, as a side, hey, look, we talk other things as well. But just a sidebar, if you know Chris Meaney myself. You jokingly asked me this before we started the show because I'm a Mets fan. I just want to talk in general, in sports in general, because this isn't the first time it's ever happened. But anybody out there that's paying attention. So the Mets, started by Javier Baez, involving Kevin Pillar and Francisco Lindor, when did well in yesterday's game, that being Sunday, they thumbs down the crowd. And they're saying in a post-game conference with Javier Baez to explain it is, hey, you boo us, we're booing you back for not supporting us. And when we do good and you don't, so it's back at you type of thing. I'm paraphrasing. You can go look it up. Well, excuse me. Look, see, that's what I'm drinking. Sandy Alderson came out and supported the fans and said it's unacceptable. Which side are you on, Chris? Are you on a side where fans can boo as much as they want and players just have to suck it up? Or are you on the side of things of the players can do what they want back to the fans, or the fans should just shut up and be there because nobody goes into other people's jobs and boos them while they're trying to work and everybody messes up? Like, where do you fall on this one? Because this is an interesting one in my opinion.
It reminds me of Seinfeld a little bit with the heckler. It's like, am I going to go to your job and heckle you? And, Jerry goes to the office where Elaine works and just starts heckling her. I'm on the side of ownership a little bit. I get the players being frustrated and they want to push back slightly. And, they can to an extent, I suppose. But who the hell is Javier Baez? Like, who the heck does this guy think he is? Like, he was just acquired from the Mets. He goes to a new team. And this is how he wants to have the relationship with the Mets organization. Like, I know they're going through a very tough time and they're not scoring runs and they're losing plenty of ball games here over the past month, basically since Jacob deGrom has been sidelined again. But I just feel like it is a bad look for a new player to go to a team. And I know Francisco Lindor and him are buddies. So I'm just thinking like if these two just decided to link up, Is Javier a bad influence on Lindor? Is it vice versa? Like, why is this happening? It shouldn't happen. And if I was a Mets fan, I'd be like, you know what, Javier? Screw you. Like, dude, be better. Be better at the plate, man. Stop swinging at pitches that aren't even close to the strike zone. So
I think we're mixing two things, though. That's the problem. So I think two things are getting mixed here. Is that it's the issue itself, which I don't think that surprises anybody. I don't have an issue. Like, because this is when I jokingly say this, like, if you're going to troll me on Twitter, I'm going to have fun and troll you back. Like, that's where Mutombo, for everybody, that is a play on Mutombo. It's Mutombo, that type of stuff. And no, I'm not telling anybody to, curse wordy stuff or anything like that. But like, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it back to you and have fun. I know all the fans aren't booing. They're only, that's the way they can just, explain their displeasure with how the team is playing. And I'm talking about all sports, so you can just this isn't only baseball. But if you're a player, you have to understand you're going to be the heel. Like, that's where, this, Chris, is where you guys came up with all in heel. Like, it's like a wrestler. If you're going to boo back at the crowd and you're going to call the crowd idiots, you're going to be a jerk and people are going to hate you and it's only going to hurt you. So it's like, if you want to do it, you have to know what comes with it. So that's what it comes down to. So it's like goes back and forth for both ways. So I think that's the thing is like, it's like they pay their ticket. They want to be able to boo. Hey, you can do whatever you want. I had a buddy. We went to a Giants game. He put a bag. It was Tiki Barber's last game. He had a bag on his head. The Giants were miserable that year. And it was like all stuff about the Giants and how miserable they were. And he paid a ticket to go to the game and wear a bag on his head that says, the Giants are miserable. The Giants suck, but I want to see Tiki in his last game. So I think it goes both ways. The interesting part about it I was going to say is that team just has no leadership because you have a player that you just traded for a month ago that comes in as leading the team. Like that's the bigger issue. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I was just curious your opinion on the booing back at the players. But JK Dobbins, speaking of booing, just boo everything. Chris, you tried. I one-upped you because I was about as miserable as anybody because you're like, man, this is miserable. Dynasty team. It's like, I don't care about your dynasty team with JK Dobbins and Travis Etienne because I have JK Dobbins and Cam Akers on my dynasty team. So I feel it worse than you do. But we do have to talk about the repercussions. So, Chris, off the top of your head, is Gus Edwards for everybody out there, just in case you missed the news, J.K. Dobbins, blown leg. He's at least his ACL, could be his LCL, which could lead into next season potentially being not even ready for the start of the year. But so is Gus Edwards, and then we'll get to the people behind him. But Gus Edwards, off your initial jump, I don't know if you already have your rankings updated for him or if your initial gut, like where does Gus Edwards fall as a player now for you?
I do have it updated. I have him as RB 19 in a half-point setting. I got him just after Miles Sanders, Chris Carson, Dave Montgomery, James Robinson, that run in there. And then, I don't know, I'm a little sour on DeAndre Swift. Maybe I'm a little hard on him. I suppose you're probably not as hard on him as I am.
I've been hard on him all off. Well, I've been super excited for him, but I've been poo-pooing the crap out of him since just because it's ADP and Jamal Williams and it's Anthony Lynn. And now the injury is on top of it. It's nonstop. Yeah. But continue your point. Yeah, I have DeAndre Swift one spot behind Gus Edwards.
Same. So it's nothing to do with Swift, the running back. I like him overall. I don't like the setup. And like you said, he's not 100% right now. And then Josh Jacobs, Mike Davis, Kareem Hunt to follow. Damian Harris too. Like I may think I need Damian Harris maybe right after Swift probably. That would be an adjustment that I think I probably should make. And I thought I did actually. I'm just sitting here looking at half PPR. But yeah, Gus Edwards, I mean, I think that they're going to bring somebody in. We can get into this situation overall, but it's a team that runs the football very well. They want to run the football. They've been one of the best at running the football over the past couple of years. Of course, J.K. Dobbins has something to do with that. He did have something to do with that. But Gus Edwards is a guy who has just kind of been the forgotten one inside this offense that has been getting 700 rushing yards. And I just feel like for a team that's going to run the football with Lamar Jackson there and a guy that was right there on par with J.K. Dobbins in terms of red zone usage, I have him slightly where I had J.K. Dobbins, and I was expecting a few more catches from J.K. this year. I don't know if Gus will catch 20-plus balls, but I think he deserves to be a low-end RB2.
Also, for everybody out there, in 16 games last year, Gus Edwards, 13 targets, 9 receptions. Yeah, tons of games with 0 targets. And that's the biggest thing is I have him in there as a lesser Derrick Henry. That's really what it comes down to is the fact that, I'm behind you by a spot or two. What did you say, 19? I have Jacobs in front of him. I think Jacobs at this point, like, you know what? There's not too much of a dissimilarity. Is that even a word? Can I make that a word? Dissimilarity.
Buddy, you are making them up every week. Like, keep going.
I was gonna say they're not too dissimilar, but I like dissimilarity. Just make that.
Me too.
Word.
Let's go with that.
Let's continue with it. So I think that's a very fair comparison, and you can argue that the offense is better. Maybe you argue there's a little bit more of a workload for Josh Jacobs, a few more touches in the passing game, but I think that's a fair spot. Like right now, you mentioned Montgomery. I have Edwards-Helaire, Montgomery, Jacobs, Henderson, Edwards. And honestly, I could see taking Edwards over both Henderson and Jacobs, depending on how you feel. And maybe you want to diversify. One draft go Henderson, one draft go Edwards, or whatever it is. The floor definitely feels safer with him than those two. And maybe I'll play. Maybe I give him a little bit more of the target share. But that's what we're talking about is behind him. Can we make Duke another team? This is Duke Johnson again. Duke Johnson is the obvious one. He's been sitting out there waiting for like 17 teams that are now apparently like, oh, that'd be a great spot for Duke Johnson. Everybody's cutting players left and right, but Duke Johnson apparently is just going to be everybody's answer to their backfield. But I don't know that they do bring somebody in, Chris, because this is where I was leading. I tweeted this out yesterday. Is Tyson Williams, who was an undrafted free agent, didn't get to play last year, but it wasn't like it was in the NFL. He didn't really get to play because he didn't make the final roster cut because of the depth behind him, but also because undrafted free agent, no time to show what you have. This is a dude that's 6 feet tall, a good 220 plus pounds, ran a 4.48 reportedly because he wasn't at the combine. This is the BYU Pro Day, but there's talent here in the fact that unlike Gus Edwards, he has some receiving ability. And all the reports, even last week, was that he was pushing past Justice Hill, who was playing on special teams. And everybody's like, oh, Justice Hill. Hold on a second. I think Williams could be the sneaky one, and that's what I mentioned yesterday. I think if they've seen enough in Williams and are fine with Justice Hill, I don't know if they bring anybody in, which is what I'm fine with when it comes to Gus Edwards, because I'm going to go back to it. I'll pull up my projections, Chris, is I have Gus Edwards for 240 carries, almost 1,100 yards, and almost 12 rushing touchdowns because I have him for 43% of the backfield, but that's also with, by the way, Lamar Jackson having 30% of the backfield. So it's just he's the guy. But the reason he's not 14 where JK Dobbins is because of the zero passing game upside.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I have him right beside Damian Harris, because I feel New England may have a bit more of a crowded backfield there, but Harris is not going to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield either. It's not to say that he can't. I just don't feel like he's going to. I pretty much say with confidence that I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to catch over 25 balls. Like a 20 would be, I think, his ceiling. I would be pretty surprised if he caught 20. And the same thing with Edwards. I mean, those numbers to me, I mean, that's pushing RB15, I think. Yeah. I know his rushing prop is 1,000. That's where it settled. It was 650, I believe. I got an FTN bets tracker. It was 650 over the weekend before Books pulled it off, and they came back with 1,000. So I'd kind of lean with the over.
Are you cashing your bets if you were in on the 650? Are you already like going and buying like a maybe nice watch in advance?
I don't like to get ahead of myself, but I do have some of those bets in. I mean, FTN Alerts is a great Twitter account to follow because you get the notification as soon as we make the bet, and this has happened. Unfortunately, like it's just the business we're in. It's sour. It could leave a bad taste in your mouth when you're like, oh, get in on Darrell Henderson over 500 where Cam Akers goes down, and then they settle it in 1,000 and go under, and then Sony Michel. It's like there's a lot of that happening. There's been some, ETN. James Robinson was at 650 for like an hour before the ETN news officially broke everywhere. So like if you're ahead of the game, you can get in on some props like that. But things can quickly, as they just change so quickly in the NFL. But Gus Edwards, I think is a decent target. I was drafting while the injury happened.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to hear this. I know you're not. No. It's all the victory laps on the people who like don't go running backs early. No, I know you not, but it's like, this is take wide receivers earlier, and then you get Gus Edwards. Like, okay, really like this?
No, nothing to do with that. I was just gonna let you know where he went. Like live draft, it kind of happened.
Oh yeah, how high did he climb?
He went end of fourth. Yeah, he went end of fourth.
There you go. POD, fourth round.
Before the draft started, we knew that Dobbins suffered the injury. We just didn't know the extent. We knew that he was carted off and that it was a knee. And then, speculation starts rising. But end of the fourth, and I think he probably falls in drafts this week in that spot. Maybe even mid-third, like right after James Robinson. I see Robinson going mid-third.
The mid to late third. If you get you get somebody who's enamored with the upside. I mean, I saw tweets yesterday where people were like, "Oh, he has RB1 upside." Like, sure, if he's Derrick Henry, but like that's really what you need, because again, the passing game is not going to be a 0, but it's going to be very close to it. That's a lot of work to put on just the guy. But everybody's going to look at the 5 yards per carry and the fact that like the volume of this backfield. But again, Derrick Henry's in the backfield where you don't have Lamar Jackson running for 900, 1,000 yards. So that's a big difference there. The other part that we got yesterday was the victory lappers of this is why you don't draft until Tuesday and Wednesday before the NFL season comes up. And I saw your reaction there. This is what I'm talking about. This is what boo me, I'll boo you. Like, your boos mean nothing to me. I'll do the same thing. But jokingly aside, this is what I say is like when he said that, I jokingly came at him and was like, yo, come on, dude, bro. Like, this is like, you're trying to be like, oh, dude, this is why. And so I called him a dude, bro, as joking around. And he still follows me. I still haven't muted him. Like, it was just joking around. Everybody understood. There's other people that jumped in the conversation, though, that not understanding. It's just having fun. But there are people out there who did jump in the conversation with Chris, and it's like, you are legitimately, this is the tweets, you're stupid if you draft before the end of the preseason. You're stupid if you take this risk. You're stupid if you do this. And my initial pushback is, no, you can make the arguments both ways. If you draft 2 months ago, you get all the value of the ADPs that have risen, that players were going in the 10th, 11th, 12th round undrafted, versus the injury risk. But, guess what? The season starts, you could get an injury in week 1. So, yes, you avoid most of them. You wouldn't have drafted Akers. You wouldn't have drafted Dobbins. You wouldn't have drafted Hilton where he was going, fine. But you also missed on a lot of value. So, if you want to draft 2 months ago, that's where you do it. You get the acknowledgement of your insight of what could happen, but you also have to risk injury. If you wait till the end of the season, all the value's out the door, but at least you know that your team's healthy into week 1, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you said it perfectly. There's both sides of it. The people that are going to go at other people right now for drafting early, like boo-hoo, like this is why you shouldn't. You did drafts 2 months ago, taking Corey Davis and Marvin Jones as wide receivers, 60s, in the 60s for those guys. Like, that is terrific value. Things just happen week in and week out in the NFL. You can't predict these things. You want to be ahead of the curve. I'm fine with doing drafts, even high stakes leagues, money leagues, a couple months ago. And it's just, these things are going to happen, unfortunately. And, they're going to happen throughout the season as well. I think if you're in your home league and you can wait it out with your buddies, you wait it out, right? I mean, I'm drafting my home league, rookie only this week. Another one of my leagues is going to happen this weekend as well. And on the other side, I did a draft last month and I took Dobbins in the 3rd round. And, that team's looking pretty brutal. But it's just the way it goes, man. If you can wait it out, you wait it out. But you get a ton of value if you're ahead of the curve and you can see it. You follow your work, you follow the work at FTN, you see the projections, you see you're higher on guys, and now you're starting to see it come together, right? I think you and I talked about Terrell Williams a couple weeks ago, and now, like, if you're drafting, sure, Terrell Williams is going to be a guy that's probably going to get drafted maybe in the 13th or 14th now. But a month ago, you just took him as your last pick, and everyone's like, what a pick. Like, that guy's no good. And now he's the number one honestly, in Detroit, right?
I was going to say, he might climb into like the 11th just because he's number 1, which everybody that doesn't know, that was also some news that came out this morning. Brashard Perriman cut just completely off the Lions, not even in the top 1 or 2. So right now, if you're looking at the pecking order of the Lions receivers, it's probably Tyrell Williams, Quintus Cephas, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, which this sounds like St. Brown really isn't even no. First of all, he wasn't even on the team with the starters, and they just haven't been a lot of glowing reports. I don't know. Like, didn't Geronimo Allison still hanging around this team, right? Like, did I miss something? Or is like he hasn't been on the field for some reason? I don't know what's going on. It's like, did he get cut and I missed the news that he got cut?
Yeah, I don't know. He may have. I know they got Raymond. Raymond's on the team.
Khalif Raymond,
play a little outside,
former Giants.
Yeah.
So,
Geronimo Allison, I do believe, is still on the squad. I just have not heard his name. I'm seeing the depth chart. He's still there. I just haven't heard his name. But you're right about St. Brown. I mean, this guy does seem like the odd man out, and I see a lot of people like, oh, uptick. He's the stock riser with Perriman out. I don't know. I think Cephas is actually going to be a thing, whether people believe it or not.
So I'm at Tyrell Williams, TJ Hawkinson, the backfield, maybe some Cephas, but Cephas isn't deeper leagues.
It's
on
gross.
Top of it. It is gross. It is really, that's this one going to be one of the worst 2 teams in the league. Speaking of being gross, but real quick, tight ends. That's on cap today. We're talking a lot of tight ends. Oh, look at Chris. You're so excited about this, Chris. It's tight ends.
I like
but
Irv.
no, this.
I like
there's
Irv.
a reason. No, exactly. So there's a reason behind it, is why, as I said, you know what, tight ends is going to be a good chunk of the conversation today. I don't want to throw up Matt Gluer's question there, drop Malcolm Brown for Tyson Williams. I'm doing that, Chris. This could be 100% reactionary. Again, this isn't like Tyson Williams for me. It wasn't yesterday's news. Look, I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm told you so. I don't know. Chris, maybe you can reword it for me. I don't know. But I'm waking up this morning and it's like ESPN says that Tyson Williams has surpassed Justice Hill. Blah, blah, blah is saying that Tyson Williams might have the second. I was just saying this 2 days ago. Nobody's reporting that I'm saying it. Screw you guys. So I am kind of annoyed. This is I don't know. But I say that to say this. The reason, Matt, I would drop Malcolm Brown for Tyson Williams is because Malcolm Brown is splitting that backfield with Ahmed. That, we don't have a clear answer. And I don't think we have a clear answer here. But let's go and let's say Malcolm Brown is the backup and that Tyson Williams is the backup. Which backfield do you want more? I want Baltimore's. I want Baltimore. If you told me both were in the same exact situation, Williams is unproven, but Malcolm Brown hasn't proved that much in the NFL that we should get excited about either, that I'm going to go for Williams.
Yeah, I mean, agree. Go rewind the tape from 2 weeks ago when we talked about Malcolm Brown. I don't think any of us, I don't know, I'm speaking for you now, but I wasn't in on Malcolm Brown. I didn't care at all about the first preseason game, and the second one I thought it favored Gaskin just a little bit more, but Brown had the starting gig with the Rams. We know who he is. We know what kind of running back he is. He could potentially steal some goal line touches. It's possible, but I think Gaskin will eventually rise to the top like he did last year when he started the season with Miami playing behind Jordan Howard and Matt Breida. So I think that Gaskin is the guy, and I would take the upside in Williams in a again, you said it perfectly. Right now, I don't even know if they have a healthy pass catcher on that team. They run, I think they ran their second preseason game. Did they run the ball 40 plus times? This is what they do, and they're very good at it. So they're going to continue to run the football. And I think it'll be very telling over the next week if they bring in somebody else. But he's certainly ahead of Justice Hill. I mean, Hill had his opportunity
in
numerous
deep
times.
Leagues. In deep leagues, I have a couple Duvernay shares. He's the only healthy one. People, and you remember this last year, Chris. Let's go back to preseason of 2020. Who's going to be the second behind Marquise Brown? Oh, Duvernay's got this. Duvernay can do this. And I'm not saying that to say that they're wrong about Duvernay. It's just how we go from everybody likes Duvernay as the sleeper, as the potential second wide receiver, to, oh, forget about him. Miles Boykin is officially buried on the depth chart. He's done for. Marquise Brown, as you mentioned, wasn't healthy. We have no Bateman 4 weeks upon end, and everybody's sitting there this is kind of what I go back to. The answer's in your face. Now, granted, Duvernay might not do anything until Marquise Brown is healthy, and Marquise Brown might be healthy for week 1, and then it doesn't even matter. But, I mean, if you're in a deeper league, if you're an 18-team league, or if you go 20 rounds in your normal 12-team league or something like that, just go throw him on your roster just in case. Get ahead of week 1 waivers, because if he shows off in week 1, people are going to go bananas for him.
Yeah, exactly. And, Sammy Watkins is another guy that they brought in who's not 100% either.
He's not even on the field.
Yeah, Duvernay may just fall into a handful of targets right off the hop.
At least until some of them come back, yeah.
Yeah, first couple of weeks until Brown comes back. So, yeah, absolutely in a deep league like that. I've had a lot of questions about, what should I do? Pick up this person about, JK Dobbins. Taysom Williams is interesting. Are you still grabbing a guy like Ty Johnson or Tevin Coleman or Ramondre Stevenson over both of those, over Williams?
Those guys? I would go with Tevin Coleman. This is the Mostert situation just for the Jets. It's just Coleman is the guy until we get to Michael Carter. Yeah. And it's going to be a split shared backfield. Oh, by the way, where does Salah come from? Shanahan. So there you go.
Dude practiced against Tevin Coleman for 2 or 3 years. Yeah. He knows what Tevin Coleman can do.
Yeah, he understands. And that's the thing. It's so it's probably going to be Tevin Coleman. Is there going to be a complete 50, 60% of the share going to Coleman? No. But he's the guy for now. It's funny that I did my home league draft. And it was I think one of the teams came out with Melvin Gordon, Tevin Coleman, and I forget who the other person was. I was so basically this person's just got running backs for the first 5 weeks, and that's it. I forget who the third person was. But I was just looking, I was hey, at least he's good for the first couple weeks. TY Hilton, this one kind of got glossed over a little bit, that he's hurt and going to miss a couple games to start the season. Is it because people don't care, Chris? Because a couple of weeks ago, I was T.Y. Hilton, the 12th. I watched the end of the season. I saw that they started moving him around a little bit more, and his not complete resurgence, but kind of like a Larry Fitzgerald, hey, he bumped back up a little bit. He was into wide receiver 3 territory where before that, nobody wanted anything to do with T.Y. Hilton. Now he gets hurt. So it's Michael Pittman and question mark. T.Y. Hilton, are you stashing? 1 is the question. And then 2, does this bump Pittman, or are you more of, hey, Zach Pascal's now surpassed Paris Campbell, so that's the one to grab?
Yeah, I think the latter. I think Pascal gets the bump. TY, I think this is significant too. You're right. It has kind of gone under the radar. I think people are just off of TY. I think they just assume like, he's going to have okay games here and there. And, he's a big time risk in terms of injury. But I think in a deeper league, again, why not? You can stash him I'm not going to do it, but I think it's something that you could do in a deep format. You stash him depending on how your draft goes. You take some high upside wide receivers. But everything that I'm reading is they're just hopeful that he's back at some point this season, that it could be a significant neck injury. And that's pretty alarming. Pascal was the guy that was kind of trending up when I was looking week in and week out on just some preseason takeaways. Pascal was the guy that I noticed was on the field more so than Paris Campbell. I thought Paris Campbell took a bit of a step back. He seemed like he was playing with the second, third team offense. He was only getting in there in 3 wide receiver sets. So Pascal, I think, is a beneficiary here. I already liked Michael Pittman. I probably won't move him up too much, maybe a tick or two. Like he's in the mid to low 40s for me. I think he's in for a decent season. But again, this team, they really want to run the football, rely on their defense, and use the multiple backs that they have. But I think, Zach Pascal is probably that guy who gets that uptick.
Does
Paris Campbell not into?
Paris Campbell again mentioned, but hey, by the way, Zach Pascal represent ODU. Yeah, anytime we could do that. Very few times we're able to do that. But it kind of goes like, this is like, do you feel a little better about Nyheim Hines because he'll still get his share with Jonathan Taylor, or is this, hey, maybe the tight end, Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox, something there? I mean, is this, if put it this way, we don't know if Carson Wentz is starting week 1, but in all intents, I'm just saying, no, it doesn't even matter. I'm just saying, this team probably at minimum is throwing 550 times this year. So we know a good chunk of those are going to go to Pittman. We know a good chunk are probably going to get the spillover of 70 to 80 targets to Nyheim Hines, maybe even more than that. So that's the thing, is like, where are the rest of the targets going? That's the question people have. So is Pascal, I know you just answered it, but I'm throwing that back out there to say, is like, as Pascal, maybe like if you're drafting this upcoming weekend or before the season, like right now, we're done with preseason. Are you Pascal 10th round? And I'm not saying like go crazy for him, but somebody here is underrated.
It's probably Pascal. So yeah, I don't know, 10th, 12th. Yeah,
I think you could easily still get him in the 12th. I mean, but that's my point, is that,
yeah,
how high is too high for Pascal? Where he was like, hey, maybe, like, because you don't want to go crazy, but at the same time, it feels like just free money, right?
It does, yeah, because he could be the number 2 in this offense. Like it's very possible. I actually don't believe in any of the tight ends on the squad right now. Jack Doyle, I just don't think there's been so much, right? And they drafted a tight end too, who's getting
Granson.
It's slipping my name right now, but yeah, he was getting some buzz out of camp. He could potentially take over there, and it just makes for a crowded tight end.
Jordan Thomas is on the team now too.
Yeah, and we know from his days in Philly as well, all the tight ends that Frank Reich used. He's going to use them.
Tight end by committee.
I think Pascal gets the boost. Like, he's probably number 2 in that offense, and it's life for a Paris Campbell. At least life now to be, okay, listen, TY is not there.
Well, you have that Mike Strachan.
I
don't even know how to, is it Strachan? I still don't even know how to say this. I was trying to find film. Not film. I was trying to find film where they say his name, because I'm like, is it Strachan or Strachan?
Strachan.
Yeah.
Strachan.
Well, because this is the thing. I was watching 2 preseason games, and the announcer said his name differently, and I'm assuming like one of the announcers might have known him, and one of the announcers didn't. Yeah, so it's like we could. Yeah, see, there you go. Look, Mr. Nice Guy, Michael Strachan, wide receiver in Indy. Yeah, I know. I've seen it too, but there's not even a guarantee he's making the team. He's been playing a lot with the second unit, and so we have to see. But he's a name because he actually profiles a little bit similar to Michael Pittman versus Pascal and Campbell as more dangerous out of the slot. Pascal can play outside, as we've seen, but I'm with you on that. So let's go. Chris, again, I know it's tight end, But that's exactly why. Like I was planning to go down this road even before the Irv Smith injury, which, by the way, was the only tight end I drafted in my home league over the weekend. So that just tells you right there that was wonderful. Yeah,
dude, you are. Man, you got bad luck. Tell me who you draft next in your home league.
I legitimately, I wasn't even joking about it. Somebody said, by the way, how many shares do you have of JK Dobbins this year? And they said, like, out of the blue, because they knew. And I was like, oh, it's like 5 or 6 leagues, honestly. So I guess I should put out my list at some point to get the ICCU
list. Yes, please share it with me. And share it with your fans. Here's
what happened with Irv Smith in my home league. And I think a lot of people are doing this, and this is why I wanted to talk about tight ends. And this is, people might roll their eyes, but this is going to be tight end centric for the next 10 to 15 minutes. This is kind of where we're going, is if you miss out on the big three, then you're thinking about that second three of Pitts, Hawkinson, and Andrews. But after that, it becomes a mess. And you're just like, Robert Tonyan, touchdown reliant. Does it happen again? Logan Thomas, breakout. Very limited sample, very limited opportunity to show out, and he could easily repeat with Fitzpatrick with question marks there. The Goddard with Zach Ertz. Whoever else you want to throw, like Higbee. Is Higbee going to be unlocked now that he's only the tight end for Matthew Stafford? So that's the group. And then after that group, which I agree all these tight ends should be in there, I feel like I'm leaving one out. I have to look at my rankings. There's one name that I feel. Oh, Jonnu. Jonnu's banged up, but he looks like he should be the one. So Higbee, Thomas, Tonyan, Fant, Jonnu, and Goddard kind of in that next group. And then the next one gets really messy. And it's like the Ingrams and the drops and the Cole Kmet in the second year with Jimmy Graham still lingering around. And that's what's thing is, like, if you miss out on those first 6, just like give me some cheap flyer guy, because look at the top 12 last year. Jimmy Graham was there. Tonyan, nobody drafted Tonyan. Nobody drafted Logan Thomas. There's just names in there. It's like, this is what happens at tight end. And it's kind of like what your reaction was. It's bleh. I don't even like, I don't want a tight end. So that's why I took Irv Smith, because I got Irv Smith for like $4. I wasn't going to spend 11 on Gesicki, worrying about his volume with Jalen Waddle now. Like, so I'll take the savings. Obviously, that didn't work out. So first, before we get to the rest, Irv Smith, are you interested in Tyler Conklin at all? Because there was talk that Conklin was already pushing Irv Smith because this team loves 2 tight ends. And for some reason, the Vikings seem to love Conklin in general.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No chance.
No?
No? I'm not interested. No, I'm not. I'm not interested at all. I play him in DFS maybe here and there. In a 2 tight end league. I am actually in one of those. I already drafted. I'm not interested. There's other names I think that, we can get into later on that I think I would be more interested. Like, I'll just throw one out. CJ Uzomah. Like, I'd much rather him
Secret of the Uzomah?
Than Conklin.
The Pat Mayo secret.
As Pat Mayo says. I think he's a good tight end. Not to say that Conklin's not, and maybe they like him. Sure. But they're a team that runs the football quite a bit. I know that there's moments where Kirk Cousins is up, week in, week out among the leaders.
I'm going to make a case for Conklin.
There's 2 players they throw the football to.
Yes. And then there's a third, is the tight end occasionally, because it's not Olabisi Johnson. It's not Chad Beebe. It's not Marset, who they draft, like Marset. What's the other part of his name? I can't think. Smith, Marset. So, by the way, yeah, Jake 1079. Don't put it up, Tino. Yeah, hold on. That name's coming. So everybody on YouTube knows who that name is coming, but we're going to get to him in a second. Before we get to him, there's 2 ones I want to specifically touch on before I get to the group. The first question, Chris, is Gronk being underrated?
Yes.
Are we okay? I was going to say, he's been on the field a lot, and it's kind of been like OJ Howard, Cameron Brate, and we know when he's on the field, Tom Brady loves him some Gronk. The problem is it's kind of the malice to feed situation, is that he now has Gio. Antonio Brown's there for a full season, and you have Godwin healthy for now. Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, backfield, Gronk. But it's Gronk, and there's other tight end options. But, again, the usage has been there. He's been on the field. You said yes immediately. Is Gronk a tight end one that nobody seems to be giving that, I guess, that kind of putting that tag on him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you just mentioned it, the drop-off after the first – I think 7. I think Logan Thomas is still a decent target. But after that, you're getting into a lot of question marks. And you know this. You've said it multiple times. We both have. A lot of people in the industry know this as well. People watching, hanging out with us that are just casual fantasy football fans. If your tight end scores a touchdown, you got one of the best tight ends for the week. And Gronk is a touchdown beast. And I thought last year he progressed as the season. I got to take an L when it comes to Gronk. Last year, I remember tweeting out after week three or four that he was tight end 47 and his ownership was like 90%. And Logan Thomas, who was getting 5 and 6 targets a game, was like ownership 27%. Like nobody was interested in Logan Thomas, who was the number 2 in his option, when Gronk was just a big name and not doing anything. But he progressed, and maybe it was just the year off football and just getting back into game shape.
Well,
and just getting more familiar.
I just cut you off. You're
better
right.
And better
so,
and better.
I don't want to cut you off your midpoint. I do want you to finish. And this isn't like a name drop it anyway, because he's the one that brought it to my attention. But that's why I bring it up. Former football player. And that's why. It's like Brian McFadden. I had him on the podcast, the All in Sports podcast, back when I was doing that. Now we're all in football here. Is that, I was asking about these type of things, and he said, with Gronk, with that type of year off, and he was tying it into Antonio Brown. That's where the conversation came from, because, play with Antonio Brown. So his conversation about Antonio Brown was, don't expect to see anything from Antonio Brown until about December. He called it to a T. Don't expect anything until about December. And he said the same reason is, look at what we're doing with Gronk. Don't expect anything for Gronk until about the middle of the season. Week 6 is what you're talking about. Week 6 is where he took off. And from week 6 to 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of his 7 touchdowns on the season came in that 9-game span. So that point being is that time off, and I think maybe that's, if we're tying Jamar Chase into this conversation, time off matters for football players. Like, you can't miss this long, especially being away from the game, and like have that effect. So to go back to what you're saying is, yeah, if you take that time, even with a 0.7 against New Orleans, where that was the one catch for 2 yards, even if you do that, averages over double digits, almost 12 points per game, which would just have made him a top 4 tight end last year, Chris.
Exactly. And it carried over into the playoffs too. And I know Brady is hitting absolutely everybody in training camp and in practice. It's all I hear. Yeah. Is Gronk is going to be a part of at least the red zone offense, and they're just familiar with each other. You use the analogy all the time. What is it? The cake and the icing thing. And
yeah,
really, I think we should just be in on Brady. I think really we should just be on Brady. I mean, it's crowded absolutely everywhere. And then you mentioned Gio. Like, do I want Gio? Like, because this guy's going to come on in third down. Like, how many third down opportunities did Tampa Bay going to even have?
Well,
this team is just going to be rolling and scoring points and moving the ball with ease. Gronk's going to be a borderline top 12 tight end, because he's
I want nothing to do with that backfield. I said go back to Duke Johnson. I compared Giovanni Bernard to Duke Johnson from 2 years ago. He finishes an RB3, but it was like 6 good weeks. And that's it. That's legitimately like it. And you can't predict those 6 games. That's the biggest problem with that. All right, so on the flip side, is Gerald Everett as a tight end sleeper, is that already dead? Is that already done? You know me. I'm asking you this because I'm trying to ask somebody who didn't already have a decision on this. I came in and everybody was like, why don't you like Gerald Everett? And I said, because Will Dissly's still there. And similar to the Vikings is we've kind of been chasing the Seahawks for years, have been like, look, it goes back to the argument I made to you, Chris, and I did that whole breakdown of, like I said, how we get trapped in fantasy and real life and say, we go down this can you imagine if road. And it's, could you imagine if the Seahawks had a tight end answer? It's been the other situations of like, could you imagine if player blank was unlocked or freed or unleashed and all this type of stuff? Because the Seahawks tight end position has had value. The problem is the tight end position has also been a mix. And that's what I was saying is like Will Dissly, people forgot they were on the Will Dissly bandwagon because Will Dissly was the answer for a little while. Gerald Everett comes in and is like, oh, well, he's back with a former coach. It's in a new offensive system, blah, blah. And then what have we seen so far in the preseason? It's been almost a dead split of Everett and Dissly. And Everett, similar to O.J. Howard, he's such a good blocker. He's been asked to block. So I ask you, Chris, because I had already said I was out on Gerald Everett. Is Gerald Everett dead? Is he dead as a sleeper, or is there still hope?
There may be a little hope, but I'm with you. I mean, if you watch the preseason game over the weekend, it was basically him and Will Dissly splitting time. And you mentioned the former coach and Shane Waldron, and who's with the Rams and doesn't have a lot of experience calling plays, but he will call plays this year for Seattle as the offensive coordinator there. And I'm sure he's going to get him, the ball here and there, but this is why we're talking about what we're talking about, is because after this first or second tier of tight ends, there's just so many question marks with the rest of these guys. So Will Dissly is going to be involved you're right. People were excited about Will Dissly. They've been excited. Everyone's been excited about just whatever tight end that they can play. Hollister at times, right? Ooh, Hollister. It's
Colby
just
Parkinson was making noise 3 weeks ago.
Whatever tight end that, is getting some reps and running routes and getting majority of the snaps, you can get a little bit excited about in Seattle's offense, but it's not a guy that you're going to roll out there with confidence in a standard 12-team league. It's just not somebody that you're going to feel great about. Again, you can play guys like this in DFS. If an injury pops up to Will Dissly again, then sure, stock up to Gerald Everett. Maybe he could be the third option in this game for the Seahawks. But yeah, he's right there I would take him over Evan Ingram. I would take him over.
Well, Evan Ingram,
Hunter Henry, probably.
Would you have taken him over Evan Ingram before the injury?
Yeah, I'm a little down on Ingram. I got him low.
I'm actually annoyed he got hurt because look at him last year, 100 targets, and I don't think he'll roll into 100 targets again this year. But he still had 600 plus yards in their reception. He had one touchdown. That's what killed him. It was the one touchdown.
Can't catch.
Well, no, you know this. I know you're saying that, but you know this as well as anybody that drops are kind of they're overblown stat. And what you look at is for the years on end. Eric Ebron, Eric Drop Run, or whatever people wanted to call him when he was with the Lions.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase is in his own head right now. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, another drop over the weekend.
They played one series. If anybody didn't see that, it was a short pass. It was one of those passes like, let's just get the ball in your hands. And it just went straight into his chest. I think he's clearly in his own head. By the way, if your draft has already happened, you want to talk about buy low opportunity. Jamar Chase, and actually potentially even after week 1 or 2, do it before he goes and blows off because it's just like blows up. Goes off, blows up. I just am doing terms and whatever.
He's going. You're just making
Yogi Berra over here.
He was going. I think I got him in your flexes of roughly wide receiver 30, and I've seen him outside the 30 in a couple drafts. I think that's pretty crazy value. And I don't want to compare the two, and I don't want to get off track here, but Kevin White, a high touted prospect that was drafted very early.
Did you really just say Jamar Chase and Kevin White? Really?
Only because of what you said, and then I saw the play with Jamar and trying to get him the ball, like a quick little pass, short pass, like just get some confidence, kid. Kevin White, who the Saints brought in, they went 3 times in a row just to get him the ball with Taysom Hill, like quick little slant, and he dropped all 3 of them. And I just felt for Kevin White because I just feel like it's his last opportunity to get in the league. But Sean Payton's there just trying to get him some confidence and see if he can catch a football. And it wasn't happening.
For anybody that's played baseball and you wonder how the mysterious baseball finds you the play right after you made an error, like it's just, it's coming right back to you. How does it always come right back to you? And I'm saying that as somebody who played a lot of second and first base. And remember, you screw something up, and for whatever, the world is just like, ha, 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 we're doing it to you again. Yeah. Here comes a screaming liner with one hop off the ground right at you. Good luck in trying to do it again. But I say that to say, he's in his own head. I think Jamar Chase might... For me, he has the feeling of now over their entire career, put it into one season. I don't think it's going to take multiple years. But Corey Davis, Devontae Parker, and shrink down their 4 and 5 seasons into one season. Like it's definitely off to a hitch. Like the things aren't going well out of the gate. And I think in his own head, he's going to be pressing a little bit. And they also have options that they don't need him right now. Like they can keep turning to T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. So a good buy low opportunity. We kind of sidewayed on that. So let me throw out these tight ends. And you tell me if you have a favorite of the group. I think you do, but let me throw it out there. And to your point, Jake, 1079, this is where Blake Jarwin comes into play because he's in this group. So these are the flyers that we haven't talked about that are after Gronk. They were kind of down in that Evan Ingram range, although one of them has been higher than most, and I'll point him out and say you're not technically allowed to pick him, but I wanted to throw it in the group because of the reason. So hold on. So the group is Austin Hooper, Blake Jarwin, Uzmo, who you mentioned, Dan Arnold, Tyler Conklin, Adam Trotman, and then the combination of the Patriots, Jonnu and Henry. And I don't really throw Jonnu into this mix because he's been going near the top 10, and he looks like he could be the number 1 option for this team. So it's more about Henry, and I just wanted to bring him into the conversation because that's kind of a 2 tight end, like, oh my God, could they just cannibalize each other? But out of that entire group, not Jonnu, Henry only, out of that entire group, do you have a favorite tight end?
Man, it might be Uzma. Jarwin's probably the real answer here, the guy with the most upside, but also like Schultz is going to be hanging around there too. And they've been rotating through both tight ends, and there's three very good wide receivers on that Dallas team.
Tampa Bay offense
running
with
back.
A better running back.
Right, it pretty much is, and they are a team that's going to be throwing the football quite a bit. But Blake Jarwin coming off that injury, like I like the ceiling I left the S side, but I'll probably just lean with Uzomah. Like I like Hunter Henry more as a tight end, but New England with the two tight ends, I agree with you. I think Jonnu is the guy there. He really could lead the team in targets, and then you got Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar, probably 2 and 3 even before Hunter Henry, and then all the running backs that they're going to use. So I'll lean with Uzomah, but I think out of all the guys that you mentioned, the highest ceiling probably does belong to Blake Jarwin. I'd like to get your thoughts on Adam Troutman, because this guy was just like, people were drafting him as a top 13, 14 tight end, and goodness, I mean, you couldn't have a rougher start to NFL sophomore season as he has had. It's brutal.
It is brutal. I think the Arnold situation I'm out on, the Panthers, which again, this is now a lesser offense with also 3 good options where they have Terrace Marshall. And again, this is similar to the Seahawks. Like, yeah, it feels like there should be value there, but stop trying to force things to happen. John would be the easy one. I feel like Austin Hooper just doesn't get any love because of the offense he's in, but it really comes down to if he was the guaranteed third option, we might be able to get in on this, but this is this Titans offense. I kept saying I didn't want anything to do with John last year. I made time and again, I made an hardcore argument with Brandon Funston on the Athletic podcast, and Brandon was telling me, no, John, I'm not saying that. I have been wrong. I'm not calling Brandon out to be like, oh, got you on this one. I kind of am. But the fact is like, it's a similar offense. Like, I don't want the third pass catcher. I don't want the third pass catcher, even if it's Donovan Peoples-Jones. I want Donovan Peoples-Jones in case Odell Beckham gets hurt again. But that's where I kind of have a little bit of like, hey, look, if you're diving into this range, maybe Austin Hooper has some touchdown upside, and if somebody get banged up or hurt or whatever, but I don't even love that because I don't even know if Odell gets hurt if it's not just Peoples-Jones and not Hooper. So I'm with you. I think Jarwin is the most intriguing one because if he is what he was last year and just kind of pushes Schultz into the Conklin type role, then, Jarwin, even as the fourth option, there's still potential there. And if we're chasing these options, because to go to Trotman, and what you asked about Trotman is, I was in on him for this reason alone. Volume, potential third option in that offense. They're asking him to block 50% of the time. Yeah. And that's also because he's 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds. And that's also the part I bring up about stop poo-pooing him for running a 4.8, because you at 5'11", 170 pounds can't run a 4.8. This dude is 6'4", 250 and running a 4.8. Shut the hell up. He's a matchup problem. But because he's such a beast, he's being asked to block. So he's out. He's completely out. Any tight end that's blocking 50% of the time, I don't want. You need to run routes and get targets. So I go down to that one, and here's my case. I saved it. I'm going to come back and make the argument for Tyler Conklin. We were interested in Irv Smith. Why were we interested in Irv Smith? Because 50% of the target share is going to Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Another close to 10% for the backfield. There's stuff left over. They even said 15% for the backfield. Do the math. There's still leftover targets. And everybody was in on Irv. Everybody saw what Irv did at the end of last year. My argument against Irv was that this team loves the 12 tight end set and that they won't go away from Conklin. They keep using Conklin. If you look at the end of last year, Irv and Conklin alternated games, similar to Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee. So what I'll say is this. While Irv Smith is out, I think Tyler Conklin can be the tight end one. Call me crazy, but Irv Smith is out. People wanted Irv Smith. Now you have Tyler Conklin.
Yeah, I'm looking at the target distribution here too. I mean, you bring up
his was
points,
more consistent.
Right? Rudolph is gone. Yeah, he was more consistent. So like 26 targets, 43 targets for Smith, 26 for Conklin. Rudolph was there and he's gone now. 100 each for Jefferson and Thielen, and then 50 for Cook. And then you're looking at, who's up here next? Like BB, like, is this a guy that's going to get over 40 targets? Like they just use 2 wide receivers basically the entire time. So I think you're onto something. I don't think you're crazy. I think, right away, week 1 DFS, maybe you're getting some Conklin in your life as a min price guy is somebody who could maybe fall into 5 times. There's no secrets in DFS anywhere. There's no secrets, man. Like everyone's will be in on it, but actually maybe not. But it's,
you never know.
A red.
There's so many free spaces in week 1 with like Gus Edwards. There's like Darrell Henderson. There's a couple. Yeah, there's gonna be a ton.
I mean, Traquan or Marquez Callaway and Jameis
and Traquan Smith. So, real quick, finish your thought real quick, because there is a Traquan question.
No, that's it. I'm not calling you crazy. I guess maybe I was overlooking it a little bit. I still don't view him as a guy that you'll roll out consistently in 12-team leagues as your tight end. But at the same time, Jake, what we're coming here full circle with these tight ends is you're just looking for a little bit of upside. Is the target's going to be there? Do they have a chance to be maybe the 3, which he does in Minnesota, and also maybe just a red zone target, right? Because that's what, at the end of the day, if you can get a touchdown here, you're loving it.
And that's really what it comes down to, too, is also, I like the Uzma call. I haven't, but this is deep leagues that I drafted
it's
Uzma.
The 5th option. This sucks.
That's what it comes down to, is like the versus Conklin is Conklin's 3rd. Okay, 4th if you include Dalvin Cook. We'll just talk purely not the backfield. Uzma, at best, is 4. Like, you're, even with Jamar Chase's struggles, you're still not getting past the top 3 wide receivers when you have a group like that. Same argument against Dan Arnold is like you're not getting past that. The flip side is we're saying the same thing about Blake Jarwin. But it comes down to Dak Prescott versus, the Joe Burrow offense, which I do have Joe Burrow throwing more times. But, again, what's the distribution, especially as you just mentioned, for the red zone? Jarwin's got a little bit of that. Dak still looks his way. Is Uzma going to see that? And I think it could be, but the question is he going to look that way? And so that's really what it comes down to. If you can get Jono, I still think that Jono is one of the better values there. So before we get out of here, Chris, we talked a ton of tight ends. I know everybody's super happy, but legit, this is going to help some people. Like, everybody can't draft the top 6 tight ends, or 7 for you for Logan Thomas. Although, I'll even say a Logan Thomas and Tani and stuff like that. There's at least 2 or 3 teams in your league that need to jump into this pool unwillingly. So because we haven't been able to talk about the last 3 guys you love forever because we keep having other news to talk about.
I forget about them.
I know. I want to see if you're still in on them, like how much you still love them. So we're going to come all the way back around. So full circle, few minutes to get out of here. You're running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Do you still love him as a potential RB1 because he's been banged up? And now there's, Darrell Williams. This guy, this Jerick McKinnon's now a thing. Like, is he still your guy? Is Edwards-Helaire still your guy?
Yeah, I still like him. Quite a bit as like an RB2. If I start RB, he's my RB2. I think it's a great start. And if I end up going like a Hill, Adams, or, I'm not stacking Chiefs, but probably not the worst team to stack. I'm fine with him being my RB1 as well. I like the usage. Yeah, he's been banged up. I'm trying not to look into that too much, but I still think he's going to be a guy that, touches the ball 15 plus times inside what I think is a really good offense. Jerick McKinnon has looked okay catching balls out of the backfield. I know that Andy Reid loves running backs who can catch into the backfield. I think he will use him more than Williams in a 3rd down role, potentially, maybe in the red zone here and there too. But I'm just, at this point in McKinnon's career, that's all he is a guy that's just going to get 1 or 2 targets, I think, here and there. Like, he's not going to cut into the carries, and that's what I like about CEH. I'm what I'm looking for, and what I guess I would hesitant to call him like a top 10 running back would be his success inside the red zone. I'd like to see a little bit more, but it's a better offensive line this year, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
How much do you try to avoid running backs and wide receivers from the same team?
Kind of often, but KC, I'm okay with. I did a Judy and Javonte Williams. I've done that once, but Judy fell, and I was like, whatever. Like, if Judy's outside the top 32 here, I'm just taking this guy. I think he was my 4th wideout at the time. But I think if you're in a high-powered offense like the Chiefs, or I'd say
don't love it, but it's okay. Like, because I just had that question asked to me, and people are like, would
you did the Chargers? I think that's fine. Keenan and Eckler. I think it's fine.
And Eckler.
That's okay.
Some hesitancies would be like, there's a draft out there. I won't say who it was, but like a Saquon Barkley and a Kenny Galladay. I don't really love that because the thing is like the difference is I have no problem doing it because quarterbacks, wide receivers, they pair up. So the question came because somebody's like, do you try to stack? And it's like, no, stacking is DFS. And seasonal, it works though. If you're in a great offense, like how many times are Mahomes, basically it comes down to the quarterback. How many times is Mahomes getting shut down? Because the issue is if the passing game gets shut down, you get double hit. Yes, the excitement is that you get double the bonus if they both go off. But what if they're up 21-0 and they're just running the clock? But for that, the Chiefs have likely done that necessarily on their defense or with somebody else. It's likely because Mahomes already threw 3 touchdowns. So that's what I say. It's like if the Giants are getting blown out, you could potentially be like, all right, they're going to pass a lot, but what if they are up, or what if they're just getting shut down and they lose the game and only score 3 points? Now you get hit with Galladay and Barkley. So, that's where you have to look at it, the offenses. So you can look at it both ways. All right, quickly before we get out of here, Devontae Smith, your boy, doubly because he's the Eagles and he's Devontae Smith. Is he still your boy with how the preseason has gone?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with my love/hate for Philadelphia. It is just opportunity and volume. I'm big on that. I don't understand how, a guy can go around wide receiver 40 and all he's done is fallen over the past couple weeks. I know he had the knee thing, but I don't view there's just not too many wide receivers in the late 30s, 40s who could be the lead and get well over 100 targets. And that's what I think he's in for, over 100 targets. Like, he's going to have more targets than Jamar Chase. I'm not comparing the two. I think Chase is a better talent. I think Devontae Smith probably has a better rookie season than
he
Jamar
has
Chase.
the more guaranteed path to targets for sure.
Absolutely.
Are you in or out on Jalen Reagor? He's had a roller coaster of a preseason for sure.
I'm out, man. What a mess. What an absolute.
I'm still in.
Train wreck.
I'm still carrying the flag for Jalen Reagor.
At least he's really free. Like,
I was gonna say, 2 months ago, I was carrying one of those big plant them in your yard flags. Now I'm just walking around with that little stick. I could just. It's a lot easier to carry it. I can just kind of run around. Woo! I need to get one of those and put Reagor on it. All right, last one before we get out of here. Tight ends, and I say this one. I didn't mention his name specifically because I knew we were going to get to it. In that group, I left out a popular breakout tight end, but he's still dealing with Jimmy Graham. Don't know his quarterback situation, which all intents and purposes looks like. Can we just get week 2 Justin Fields, please? What more do you need to see?
Goodness.
But Cole Kmet, he's your guy. Still your guy? Question mark. Would you take him over most all of those names we mentioned before?
Yeah, I would. I'd take him over, except for Jonnu. I think that group that you had, which Gronk wasn't included in there, I would take Cole Kmet over all those guys. At that point, I'm just taking, like you said, a high upside guy, a flyer to be, a borderline tight end one. I guess Jimmy Graham is still hanging around there. It's probably not ideal, again, for people in 12 teams, but I'm willing to take that chance and take that risk if, Jonnu goes. I'd rather take the shot on Kmet than a Gesicki. Or Hunter Henry or a lot of the other guys we talk about. Yeah, I'm still in, man. I got high hopes. I think that Jimmy's going to pass the torch to him. All Jimmy talks about is how good Cole Kmet is, and I believe him.
I mean,
let's go.
Cole Kmet, yes, let's get on the Cole Kmet bandwagon before it's too late. Just wait through Andy Dalton starting week 1 against the Rams. Sacrificial lamb to the Rams. Chris Meaney is at Chris Meaney. Code ALLIN, ALLIN, 20% off FTN. Before you guys don't leave, please. Help us grow. More free shows for you guys to watch and listen to and learn from if you give us 5 stars, thumbs up, subscribe, all that type of stuff. And theathletic.com/BetsTV, all capitals for the BetsTV portion. Free month to The Athletic. Drop into the comments and tell me I'm an idiot in person. You can go do that for free. And we will be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. new time, 10 a.m. Mondays with Chris Meaney, 11 a.m.s Tuesdays with Lauren Carpenter at Stepmom Lauren, and then Wednesdays in the afternoon, 2 p.m. with Jeff Ratcliffe. We'll be back tomorrow. Chris will be back next Monday. We love you guys, or at least Chris does.
I do.